And welcome to CCTV News. I'm Jenny Koo, and we're live in Maine. Let's begin in Egypt, where the largest opposition bloc, the Muslim Brotherhood, has reiterated that there will be no real dialogue with the government unless President Hosni Mubarak leaves office.
Streets all over the country, the people in Tahrir Square are continuing with a very solid will. They have their demands. The president should step aside. He must leave his position.
The uprising in Cairo continued throughout Wednesday, although the government has conducted dialogue with opposition parties while establishing committees to amend the constitution and carry out reforms. The demonstrators say they will keep protesting as long as the 82-year-old Mubarak stays in power. The turmoil has also taken a toll on the country's economy. The central bank intervened on Tuesday to halt a slump by the Egyptian pound. It was the institution's first time in 2 years to back up the nation's currency by pumping in large quantities of U.S. dollars. Baghdad and other Iraqi cities continue to experience a series of demonstrations, mirroring recent events in several other Arab countries. In response, the country's prime minister is emphasizing that all of the protesters are legal and should be dealt with respectfully. Bakinaki reports from Baghdad.
The wave of demonstrations in Baghdad and other Iraqi cities are not only against services deterioration, but a recent protest took place in Baghdad concerning delay in paying employees' salaries in the telecommunication company. Other protesters are against negligence in fixing the employment of more than 100,000 temporary workers in the Directorate of Electricity. Protesters said some employment cases have been suspended since more than 8 years, describing that the employment in the governmental institutions needs personal relations.
We are asking the Prime Minister to permanently transfer our employment degrees to the Directorate of Electricity.
We are asking the Prime Minister to find a solution to assist the temporary employees. We need someone to help us. Otherwise, what is the difference from Saddam Hussein's time? He was a bad leader, and now these officials aren't paying our salaries.
Meanwhile, in a press conference at Baghdad municipality this week, Prime Minister Nouri Maliki expressed his prediction that there will be more demonstrations in the coming period. Al-Maliki also said, despite that some of those demonstrations are directed by some sides against the government, we still have to deal with them respectably.
Some demonstrations have demands of decreasing the suffering and deprivation, and some are addressed. But in each case, whether they are real or addressed, we need a civilized way to deal with these demands, and not to transfer anything to confrontation, because halting them is like bridling the citizens from demanding their rights.
Some demonstrations have demanded the government to find solution to the increasing number of jobless in the country, as the case is behind increasing the rate of crime. Due to continuous wave of demonstrations in Baghdad, the Ministries of Defense and Interior increased the number of checkpoints and stiffened the security measures to be content with any possible riot like the one in Egypt. Bakinaki, CCTV, Baghdad.
And back to Africa. The South Sudan Minister of Cooperatives and Rural Development, Jimmy Lemmy, has been shot dead in his office in the future country's capital, Juba. The incident is under investigation. Lemmy was a former member of the National Congress Party, which dominates the north. He defected to the South Sudan's People's Liberation Movement ahead of the April 2010 election. The attack comes days after referendum results confirmed that South Sudan will become Africa's newest independent state. In Italy, riot police have taken up positions outside a Milan courtroom as a handful of demonstrators backing Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi held up placards and called for justice. Earlier on Wednesday, prosecutors filed a request to bring the prime minister to trial immediately on charges of paying for sex with an underage girl and improperly pressuring police to release her from custody. However, Berlusconi has countered that left-leaning magistrates are carrying out a hate campaign against him and says all of the accusations are false. And still in Europe, scuffles have broken out in Athens during a demonstration by striking doctors and other healthcare workers. They're angry at plans to impose tougher monitoring rules on national health service spending. Some protesters clashed with riot police guarding parliament, while others sat silently in the street. Lawmakers were expected to approve a new cost-cutting reforms later on Wednesday. Doctors, lawyers, pharmacists, school teachers, and public transport workers are all taking part in this week's strikes. And this is, meanwhile, most public transport was halted in Athens as unions had again rallied against the planned restructuring of their companies. Greece has launched a series of long-term policies aimed at cutting overspending in return for international bailout loans worth 110 billion euros through 2012. And let's take a look right here in China. Investors and economists will be dealing with a rate hike on the first trading day in the Year of the Rabbit. On Tuesday night, the central bank raised deposit and lending interest rates by 25 basis points. The move has been expected for weeks, and PBOC waited until the final day of the Lunar New Year holiday to announce it. So Yun has the story.
China's central bank announces raising the benchmark deposit lending rates by 25 basis points, effective today. And that means the one-year yuan deposit rate will be raised to 3% from 2.75%. And the one-year yuan lending rate will be hiked to 6.06% from 5.81%.
I think the main reason for the rate hike is commodity prices in January have increased a lot, driven by holiday demand and bad weather. This is an adjustment and reaction to the inflationary pressure this month.
And they say the People's Bank of China appears to have carefully selected the timing for the rate hikes to take place on the first working day of the week-long Lunar New Year holiday. Higher rates will encourage savers to keep more money in bank and also weigh on the demand for mortgage loans. The move is saying is part of China's struggle to rein in price pressures and ward off a property bubble. With China's CPI rising 4.6% in December, some analysts say the step indicates inflation in January, which expected to be released later this week, will accelerate back to about 5%. Anti-inflation talk from China's central bank in recent months has primed investors for more policy tightening. But even with the latest move, many still believe that further tightening is on the cards. Zoe, CCTV, Beijing.
With China's week-long Spring Festival holiday now over, receipts show that retail sales were golden during the period. For many people, this was not just a time for reunions, but also a season for consumerism. Xue Jingmeng has more.
Chinese families annually spend an average of 5,000 yuan during Spring Festival, according to the latest data published by the Ministry of Commerce. Between February 2nd and 8th, sales at stores and restaurants around the country surpassed 404 billion yuan, a 19% increase compared to the same period in 2010.
Sales are very good this year. We had sales of 108 million yuan during this Golden Week, an increase of 14%. Clothes, jewelry, wine and cigarettes are the favorite among consumers.
For many shopping centers, retail stores, and supermarkets, daily sales set new records during the holiday. People bought new clothes, new electrical appliances, and more food for the new year.
I brought some clothes for my parents, and a cash gift is also a part of my payout, so the festival cost me about 4,000 yuan.
I spent about 5,000 yuan this year. I bought some food for my parents and clothes for my child.
In addition, traveling home or planning trips have become very important components of consumption for many Chinese people. Whether shopping, travel, or something else, people use their vacation time in many different ways. But for younger people, it's not as easy. From gifts for families to tickets for traveling, Young people let out a lot of money for this year's Spring Festival. Among those just starting to work, pressure is mounting.
I bought gifts for my parents, grandparents, and myself. It all cost me more than 2,500 yuan. This is my first year working, and I wanted to buy some gifts for my family members. I think it should be done according to one's abilities.
The holiday has passed, and with people on the way back to work, festival markets have started to calm down. Xu Jingmeng, CCTV, Beijing.
Throngs of travelers made their way back to work as the Chinese Lunar New Year holiday came to an end. Trains and buses were the most popular form of transportation, and railway stations in Shandong province saw 200,000 passengers in a single day. Lines of cars have also been formed at highway toll booths near Beijing, Shanghai, Tianjin, and other major cities. Customers also snapped up plane tickets, and China Southern Airlines has increased flights from 30 to 70 per day. Official forecasts show this year's Spring Festival holiday may see a record 2.8 billion trips made nationwide. And that's it for this hour's news update. I'm Jenny Gu. Thank you for watching CCTV News.